thank you for tuning in this evening. We've got Dr. Bosco Paul joining us from RU Health to talk about all things Ayurveda and correct eating habits. Welcome.
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you very much.
Good to have you here again.
Thank you very much, yes.
Now, since I spoke to you about 6 weeks ago, my whole life has become around this philosophy of eating correctly, what we eat, how we eat. And I really wanted to sort of delve into it because we didn't sort of delve into it last time. We talked about a few different topics, but if we can just start with, the importance of also how we eat, and should we drink perhaps cold water with ice when we eat? I've heard that's a no-no. Little things like that we do. We go to a restaurant and they give us a water with ice. Let's start there. That is a no-go.
All right. Thank you for letting me know that you got more interested in getting to know about Ayurvedic dietary aspect after the first session. The thing is, it's all about our own health. So when you talk about Ayurveda, it's all about our own health. So we feel like we can see Ayurveda, which is the knowledge about our life, in every aspect of what we do, in our lifestyle, in our routine, in our diet, with the friends or workplace or whatever, weather, even in our thinkings. So that's the importance of Ayurvedic knowledge in our daily life. And the main part of Ayurveda is actually about what we eat and what we do in our life.
Yeah.
So that's our life is based on, our health is based on these two important things. Ayurveda says ahara, which is the food, and vihara, which is more our lifestyle.
So it's both.
It's
we
both.
need them both in sync.
It's both, actually. So our diet is one part, which probably we try to cover most of the things today, and same, the same time, lifestyle also equally important. What sort of lifestyle practices we do. So, cold water. We're talking about water intake, amount of water. What sort of water is the best? Ayurveda says water is the base of our life. So we can see every creature, if there's no water, we can't survive. And that's why we're looking for water in the moon or other planets to find out if there's any way to keep the life sustainable. So yes, Ayurveda says that water is the root of or basic need of life existence. So we can't live without water, and water is one of the fundamental principle of our constitution, according to Ayurvedic philosophy or Eastern philosophy.
So are we made up of, is it 70 or 80% our bodies of water?
That's right, yeah, 70 to 80% of our body is made of water. So that much amount of water intake is required for our proper functioning of our body system. For example, our kidneys are cleaning up all this fluid in our body regularly. Blood requires clearer fluids of water. Everything to function basically.
So our blood needs water to be pure.
Blood, that's right. That's absolutely.
To
blood,
carry oxygen and
exactly.
transport
so it's actually,
nutrients.
That's true. So when kidneys actually filter it to the urine, the waste products are taken out and it come back to the body. So that's the function. That's how it works. Purification and circulation in our body. It's a water circulation. When there is an excess water in our body, we feel like fluid retention or heaviness, or people complain about all sort of edema, like that. And the other side, we feel if there is a reduced amount of water, that causes dehydration, headache, constipation, acid issues, like that. Ayurveda is very clearly explained this in a very simple, logical way, that body is made of three constitution, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and both Kapha is made of water element, Pitta is also made of water element. Pitta is more fluids in the body, Kapha is more the tissues in the body, physical structures in the body. So yes, physical structures requires the water, and in our hormones or enzymes or any some sort of fluids are produced from our body requires water element to function properly. So that's the importance of water in our, or the function of water in our body. So the amount of water to be taken on a daily basis is depending on the size of the person or the constitution of the person. When we say constitution, it's also, we need to think about what sort of health we are at. So if someone have diabetes and the amount of fluid retention in the body will be different to someone who is quite skinny and have on the other malnutrition issues and like that. According to Ayurveda, someone who is having kapha problems shouldn't be taking too much of water. Kapha problems like overweight or people with heaviness in the body or fluid retention, they need to look at the type of water they're taking, for example, and the amount of water. The hot water and cold water are totally different properties according to Ayurveda. That probably is something very new to many of you, that the properties of cold water is more sluggish or a slower body functions, whereas warm water makes it more faster or lighter movement of the body. So
things move through easier with warm water.
that's right. So basically, in the chemistry or physics, we say that the cold actually constricts the particles or the substances, whereas warmth actually make it expands, heat expands, cold contracts. So for example, in the cold weather, we get more chances for asthma issues or breathing issues because of the constriction of our breathing vessels, whereas in the warm weathers is much more expanded or less chances of such issues. So cold actually makes our channels constrained and slower movements, and that's the reason why people with constipation issues, which means the reduced movement of the bowel, shouldn't be taking cold water. Instead they should take warm water, which actually is supportive for their bowel movement. So that is
Makes sense.
is absolutely
To relax the muscles too.
exactly
The warmth,
exactly.
soothing.
That's true. So this is what a simple recommendation that we do in our consultation for people coming with the chronic constipation issues or headache issues or people with respiratory issues, especially with asthma. We recommend them to not to take cold water or even tap water, because tap water also can be really cold many occasions. So recommend to take more boiled warm water is always recommended.
Okay.
And the amount of water is actually again depending on the size of the body and the health condition of the person. Generally speaking, Pitta people are more warmer in naturally in constitution. They probably need to take more water than a Kapha person.
They need more hydrating.
That's right. Yes.
And is it also a good thing to? I came across a couple of videos the past few weeks about getting a big jug of water, filling it up before you go to bed, covering it, charging it to with good energy, whether you pray on it or meditate on it, and then you drink that water in the morning. And there's so many benefits. The water is sort of taken into your body more effectively, and it even tastes different, because I accidentally got some water straight from the tap, and it really did taste different. It wasn't it wasn't in my mind. It wasn't this psychosomatic thing. It really tasted different. It was more pure.
That's right. And if you boil it and leave it for overnight, and then if you taste it, even
is it better
is
to boil it?
Much better. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because the amount of chlorine in our tap water is very high, and even some of the hard the chemicals that or even we believe that there's no very minimum pollution in the water, but if you boil that water, that actually make it again no polluted, reduces that pollution or what. If there's any bacteria in that water, we don't have any system. We believe we trust our government system. So but to confirm from our own side, the best and simple method is to boil the water before we consume it.
Okay. And another thing I just want to touch on is gulping water, because I was having this conversation with a friend. We were talking about this water issue with Ayurveda and that sort of thing, and he said, I gulp water. He said, I get 3-4 glasses and I just shove it all down, and then I don't drink for another few hours. And I've sort of read that it's better to just sip throughout the day warm water. But that's going to nourish the cells better,
right.
Isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Rather than having a lot of water to one sip, it's always good to take a small, a few sips of water, warm water, maybe add it with a little bit of ginger or lime or whatever, depending on the constitution, to make it more palatable and helpful for easy elimination, better digestion, better appetite. So it's really helpful to have it more small amount, and it is recommended to take throughout the day, because we can't. And the amount again, should be based on the personality or constitution, but it's always recommended to take throughout the day. Also, Ayurveda talks about the timing. That it's good to take some water intake during the first thing in the morning to flush our body system, or clean our blood impurities, and that actually helpful for helping the blood pressure, reducing calming down the blood pressure, better elimination. Ayurveda always recommends warm water first thing in the morning. I think
how much?
Maybe a couple of glasses, or even if it's just one glass, it's fine, because if we do that on a regular basis, that actually helpful for better elimination, which actually makes the person lighter, and that actually helpful for better appetite for breakfast, and then it clears out all the toxins in the body. So it is good to start with taking a couple of glasses of water, warm water, even if it's plain water, or maybe ginger boiled water, or we can maybe a couple of drops of lime juice, whatever is suits for the person. That's the best way to start a day, with water.
And not drinking just before we eat and just after we eat water. Have a bit of a gap so our digestive juices are on fire, effective.
That's also quite interesting, that Ayurvedic recommendation. That Ayurveda says it's good to take water, or small portion of water, throughout the while we take the meal. But if someone wants to lose body weight, it's good to take water before the meal, so that the person wouldn't eat that much amount of solid meal after, because their stomach will be full easily.
So drink before if you want to lose weight.
That's
to
right.
fill yourself up.
That's right.
But doesn't the water dilute the stomach?
And the dilute stomach, and the person feels full much quicker than if there's no water inside.
Oh, I thought we needed a gap. I thought we needed to have water and then wait half an hour, so that when we eat the food, our stomach, all the, stomach juices and digestive juices, acids, whatever, can break down the food. But if it's too much water, it interferes.
In a person who is already overweight or wanted to lose body weight, there is Ayurveda says, in a general sense, we don't want much absorption as a person who wants to increase weight. So if a person wants to increase weight, Ayurveda suggests to drink water after meal.
Straight away?
After meal, you can after meal, over 10 minutes after meal, or maybe just after meal. That's fine. But if you want to maintain your body weight, it's good to take a little amount of water along with the meal. So that's very interesting.
Okay, different for different people, I suppose. Yeah.
That's right. So if a person is kapha constitution, it's good to take some water before meal, 20 minutes before meal. That's usually we recommend.
And that body constitution is what?
Kapha constitution.
Which is
actually more with who wanted to lose body weight, or having heaviness in the body, lymphatic issues, people with cancer conditions, or people with chronic respiratory issues or like that.
Okay. And also, look, this was really fascinating to me, is a lot of people eat fruit after dinner, and I sort of have heard that it's not good to have fruit after dinner, because fruit digests within 1 or 2 or 3 hours, whereas if you have meat, it might take 50 hours to digest. So if you eat meat and then fruit, the fruit wants to sort of go through and it can't, so it ferments. So we should have fruit, wait a little bit, wait an hour or 2 and then have our meal.
That's true. Ayurveda also says the same way, that the fruits are sweeter in taste. So sweet food should be taken first part of the meal. So the first thing should be the most sweet things, which are more sweeter in taste, more nutritive and nourishing in nature. So for example, that's why there are 6 different tastes are explained in Ayurveda, and sweet is the first and first one which needs to be taken in that meal. And these 6 tastes needs to be included in a meal. That's what Ayurveda says. That then only it becomes a wholesome meal.
Yeah,
it's a wholesome meal. There are 6 different tastes of sweet, sour, salty, and then spicy, bitter, and astringent. So these 6 tastes needs to be a part of our meals. So I can give you some examples of what can be the come under this sweet category. Sweet is basically, everyone loves sweet. Even ants. That's what we say. Because sugar, that's why they're coming in.
Even ants like sugar.
Even ants like sugar.
It's like a drug.
It's like a drug.
That's what they say, isn't it? You too much sugar.
Sometimes you can get
bad.
addicted and craving for sugar. People sometimes get quite addictive to sugar. Yes, so sugar or any sweet products. Sugar is not only sugar is only just one part of or one ingredient of sweet taste, but also things like fruits or whatever fruits or glucose or whatever nutritive in nature, like protein. Protein also comes under the sweet taste, like meat comes under the sweet taste according to Ayurveda. Even ghee or dairy products, they're all oils. These are all comes under the sweet category.
Really?
So these all have that nutritive nature, increasing the body weight or nourishing our body. So this comes under the category of sweet, which in turn increases the amount of kapha in the body.
And
so
kapha
is something which causes more nutrition and overweight. So if someone wants to lose body weight, we suggest them to reduce the amount of sweet ingredients like sugar, of course, dairy or yogurt or cheese or oils, deep-fried food.
Yeah.
All this comes under or even too much fruits like a watermelon contain a lot of water and sweets in it. Whereas if someone wants to gain more body weight, we recommend them to add bigger portion of that. We're not saying that it's totally avoiding that sweet taste from their diet, but reducing the proportion compared to the green leaves. We will talk about that, which category that comes under. So that about sweet, and then comes savory. Savory, all kind of acidic kind of things we can put under savory taste. For example, I usually recommend people the nightshades. We heard about nightshades, which are quite reactive in nature, quite acidic in nature. So like tomatoes, eggplant, potatoes, and chili, they all comes under the category of nightshades. These are all quite strong acids in these vegetables, and also the citrus fruits. These are also we put under the savory
really?
taste. Yes, and pineapple. They actually have the property to increase the pitta, which is acid in the body. So, for example, someone comes with a pitta disorder like skin problem or hyperacidic problem or arthritis, inflammatory disorders. Ayurveda or Ayurvedic practitioners recommends reduce the amount of this acidic food in the diet. Instead, you can take more sweets or you can have other taste in the diet. So we are not totally avoiding that, but reducing the amount of tomatoes and chilies and more acidic alcohol, for example, or red wine. You probably have, people who suffer from these kind of issues, arthritis or skin issues. They always says that they get things worse with the, the food, this kind of food. So that's the other thing we need to be kept in mind, that amount of savory food in our diet should be very much controlled for a person who is more pitta in nature, or like fire, hot, warm, especially, and also for people with hormonal issues. Same with the salty taste. Salt actually increases or worsens the conditions of kapha and pitta conditions. So someone have a skin issues, there are more chances to get itchiness with the salt. So we recommend to reduce the salts in their food when people comes with the itchiness or more issues with the fluid retention. That's the other issue that we have seen in people. A lot of fluid retention, especially in the we heard about lymphatic issues and puffiness in the legs or edema conditions. We need to look at the what is the root cause of it, but something that we reduces in our diet is salt.
Yes,
For example,
makes
edema
sense.
can be because of heart disease, and in heart disease conditions we recommend to reduce the salt intake because the sodium is really an increased level of sodium can make the more fluid retention, which makes the function of the heart more difficult.
Jeez.
So this is how
It's pretty
it
important
was.
to know.
All
these
these
little
diet,
things.
yes, all these little things are quite important when we move along in our life. And the other one is spicy food. Spicy again increases the or worsen the pitta conditions, but it is required to improve the digestion. So spices, as we know, all sort of ginger or garlic or chilies or whatever, cinnamon, cumin, all these kind of spices, they're all having that activating or igniting property for better absorption or assimilation and digestion of the food. These spices are also helpful for drawing water into the colon and system, which is helpful for better elimination too.
Does it?
So yeah, that's how it's actually helping for the pitta, increasing the pitta level. Or so someone have too much spices in their food, sometimes they feel like diarrhea or quite sweaty, or like feel like some people really red because it increases the heat in the body and increases the pitta properties in the body.
So even though spices are medicinal, I've been looking into it, or antifungal, antimicrobial, so many benefits of spices, but we can overdo a good thing too. We can't overdo anything, can we?
That's right. No, we can't overdo anything because that's why Ayurveda says when your diet is correct, there's no need for medicine. When the diet is incorrect, there is no purpose for medicine because the medicine can't function if the diet which is causing the problem is still, if you continue with doing that. So correction of the diet is the first part. Then so these are the first four tastes, and then comes the bitter taste. All the green vegetables comes under the bitter, or even coffee we can say comes under the bitter taste. But too much bitter is actually can cause more bloated stomach or a wrinkling of the skin or more vata conditions. So
really bitter.
Bitter taste,
greens?
like greens, especially.
Do that.
Yeah, it can cause some people who takes raw salad. So this is another thing that we say. People taking the raw salads like
much.
greens too much complain about bloated stomach. But in such situations, like we advise them to steam it or stir fry or saute to make it more soft and easy to digest. And so it maybe added with a little bit of ghee or oil in it, and that makes it more easier to digest. And then you consume it. Then that makes it vata pacifying and easier elimination, better absorption, helpful for the person. This person doesn't feel like bloated.
But that doesn't kill the vitamins when you overcook it?
No, we don't necessarily to overcook it, but
Just a
even
little
in
bit.
many Indian traditional cookings and all, like even when we cook, it's not our body has there's a limit to absorb nutrients. Even though we know that if there is a iron deficiency, some people just take loads of iron, but that we can't absorb all those iron supplements that we're taking. There's a limit for everything, and that's how Ayurveda always talk about in a moderation. We can absorb, our body can absorb nutrients in a moderation. We can't if someone say, okay, this is my diet, you know, only green diet only. We can't live like that.
Exactly.
That can lead to more health
Problems.
issues because of nutrition deficiencies and then more water issues. So that's about bitter taste. And the last taste is actually astringent taste, which is more something which like teas or lentils or all the lentils we can put under that, or pomegranate. We put, Ayurveda says pomegranate is not actually very sweet in taste, but more astringent in its nature. That's why not many people actually like pomegranate. But pomegranates have some very very good properties for pacifying the pitta issues, digestive issues. Digestion will be corrected with this pomegranate juice and all. Lentils also having this property. Lentils have, so astringent taste can increase vata but reduce kapha, which means if you are not properly cooked, or if you take more dal or more lentils in our diet, especially at night, which is the vata time, and that can cause more chances for bloated stomach. So in such cases, maybe added with some spices.
Why at night? It needs longer to digest.
Yeah, it takes more time to digest. And also we suggest people who have bloated feeling, we recommend them to cook the lentils first, and then remove that froth out, and then maybe wash or whatever, and then use that clean lentils for your meals.
Okay.
Because that can reduce the chances of wind or bloated or constipation issues. So these are the 6 different tastes or 6 different nutrients in our we require for our body to sustain, to function.
And also we don't have cravings too. Because if we're sort of just focusing on eating carbs, you hear people that say they've cut carbs out and they're just having protein, but then they have cravings and they can get depressed and anxious as well because they're missing food groups.
That's right. If we try to skip one thing, because when I was learning about these meals and all, I was thinking that I should be just taking some sort of green vegetables only at one point of my life, and then I realized that it's making me tired and less active, lethargy, and quite almost like feeling difficult to function. So then I realized the importance of other nutritive elements like carbohydrates and proteins, and so like that. So we can't eliminate any of these, and we get a lot of people from Western ethnicity, that people complaining about constipation issues, and we realize that, and we recommend them to take more spices in their diet and more fluids, and then that actually helpful for better elimination.
Now there's just a few more things I want to go through. Also, Neem. Are you sort of a fan of Neem powder?
Yeah.
Yes.
Neem we don't use much in the food, but it's more like a medicine.
Yeah, so just to have it like a Neem ball, just a little bit of a teaspoon and a little bit of Neem and a bit of water, make it into a Neem ball, put it in water.
Neem is quite bitter in taste.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It
taste.
It's
Satguru, you know Satguru.
Okay.
He said you'll never get addicted. You'll never ever get addicted to Neem. It tastes that bad.
That's right. You never get
It's so good for you.
Addicted to anything if you take Neem ball.
I love the Neem balls. I feel so good. I've been having them, not too much, because you can't. Again, it's so potent that you gee whiz, you can't overdo it.
Yeah.
And you should even have a break. They said you shouldn't sort of have it every day forever.
Yeah.
Have it and then take breaks.
Yeah, bitter tastes are generally speaking helpful for reducing those kind of cravings. So we recommend either a Neem ball or like Brahmi. It's another herb which is Brahmi is very popular for its brain supportive functions.
Brahmi.
Brahmi.
And also does Neem reduce food cravings?
These bitter taste herbs.
So you won't be hungry for a while after that.
Not hungry, like craving, like.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're not going to want food.
No, not really. I mean, it needs to take as a medicine, like in a particular way, that not as a food, but bitter taste herbs helpful to reduce that cravings. Because it's also about our mindset, our habits.
That's true. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I wanted to talk about that, habits.
Yes, absolutely. So it's our habits actually. Some people think that, oh, how can I change my habit? How can I change? Some ethnicity, some culture, tomatoes are actually part of everyday meal, or even for 3 meals.
But I might not agree with them.
And if they have some skin issues, that's right. They can't take it that much as someone else taking. So we can't say that, okay, this food is good for everyone. Everyone has their own places.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also good to eat mindfully and check in with ourselves and say, okay, I had that drink or I had that food, and just be mindful, okay, how do I feel after? Do I feel energized? Do I feel tired? Do I want to sleep? Do I feel in a good mood, in a bad mood? Some foods can make us anxious. You know, if we have chili or
some water
certain
increasing,
foods,
some
depending on the person.
The food that increases or water, we can say more lentils or more with the lighter meats. Even when we think about meat, too much chicken. Or something which causes constipation, too much cold water, fizzy drinks.
So people can feel a bit more agitated after eating too much meat, you know, because meat's very acidic. And also, like we said earlier, it takes about 50 to 70 hours. I think raw meat, if people eat raw meat, it's 72 hours. And if it's cooked meat, it's 50 hours to go through our whole digestive tract. That really put me off. That really stuck in my head. When I look at meat, I think, Juggy, you're going to be in my body for 50 hours. I'm not going to have that. See you later.
And that's the reason why we're adding the spices. So the spices are actually helpful for the digestion and the movement much faster and easier, and also the amount of fluid. So when we cook, that's why we don't recommend much more raw meat or uncooked or a steak or what kind of, those kind of food in Ayurvedic diet. We recommend always well cooked, added with spices, with soft and moist warm food.
So the spices are going to help the meat digest quicker, is it?
That's right.
Really?
Any food, yeah. So we
really?
add, all sort of spices actually helpful for. That's why we put black pepper or turmeric powder, or it also detoxifies. So it reduces the toxicity in the meat as well.
Really?
So easier to digest and also good for reducing the toxicity in the meat.
Also, what about yoga, exercise, all this sort of thing? This is all good?
We recommend not to do yoga after meal, so it is good to do before meals, because when the stomach is full, it is not really good to bend forward or twisting movements, or because blood needs to flow more into the digestive system. When we move more, it actually circulates more to the peripheral body. So it is recommended to do the to take the meal after the exercise. So shower, first you do the exercise if you want, and then you take a shower, and then only the meal. Even taking shower after meal not recommended.
Yeah, right.
Because again, that actually, when the water falls on the skin, or the circulation goes more into the peripheral areas.
So a shower before we eat?
Before we eat, yes. I would recommend if you take a shower before we take meal, you feel much easier absorption, or like digestion. You feel lighter, and even makes it easier for absorption.
And also it calms people, doesn't it? Water.
Absolutely. It's very
we
true.
can think clearer.
That's right. If you can actually see that difference when we peacefully look at ourselves, having a cold water and how our body is responding, and have some warm water and how our body is responding to that. So we can feel it's much lighter. We can see, for example, we go to eliminate, we go to the toilet, urine, quicker when you take warm water than cold water. And that's actually the reason. So warm actually, so if someone is actually having, so wants to go to toilet, urinate, and find it really hard, I recommend to take a little warm water, which actually helpful for urinating much quicker. So always warmth actually expands the vessels. Someone have breathing issues or fluid circulation issues, we recommend, or movement issues. These are all comes under water, like cold makes these things worse, whereas warmth make it more easier to function, easier to move,
Yep.
and feels lighter.
All right, a few more things. Try and be in bed by 10 p.m. I've heard, or before, and stop eating about 6 o'clock when the sun goes down. A lot of people like to have their little midnight snacks. That's a no-go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for
I
rest.
used to like my midnight snacks. Midnight snack. I look forward to it on weekends.
That's weekends, yes. So that's our habit, or that's our that become our culture now, because we don't sleep that early. That's the whole thing. But it is recommended sufficient time rest for not only for your brain, but also for your mind, but also for your body systems. So when if you take something in between or too close to sleep hours, then the sleep hours are actually is consumed for digesting those food and eliminating those food. So it gives less time for the body to slow down. So even for the mind also. So and next day morning you feel that heaviness, tiredness, because your body didn't really get that enough resting period. So always good to take a couple of hours, or maybe 4 hours before we take the meal before we go to bed, and always lighter meal at night, because again helpful for digesting quicker. We say Ayurvedic recommendations about the amount of food is actually the biggest meal should be the lunch, and not the dinner. In many of our life, it's actually dinner is our biggest meal because of work patterns or other responsibilities. We sometimes skip, or sometimes do not get enough time to eat our lunch. But lunch is a time of a pitta time of really body is really wanting to have something to digest and assimilate, and that's the most important time, and the biggest meal should be, because the body is quite active at that time and ready to absorb whatever it gets, and that should be the time. Whereas dinner is a time for slowing down and calming down, and so it needs to be more fluidy, warm. Some sort of soup is the best to take at night. Especially people who are wanted to lose body weight, we recommend to take more quinoa, like millet, those kind of, rather than rice, because rice sometimes causes, especially at night, that can lead to bigger, the tummies, because of the deposition of the, it actually, we say it's toxin deposition. So best to take more soup or a warm meal, smaller portions at night. Breakfast is always good to have. Breakfast, like, again, needs to be really good, because our body is not starving for, it's really not getting any food for a long period of time, and it needs to get some food at that time. Some people, again, because of busy schedule, skip their breakfast, and the brain is the organ which really wants a lot of sugar, or and it actually, it's kind of injustice to our brain if you don't take breakfast in time.
What does it do?
It actually reduces the functions, makes us foggy mind. We won't be able to focus or concentrate if you don't really take our breakfast on time. And we can be more calmer. And we say, if you skip breakfast, if you skip a meal, that's like fasting, can leads to vata increase of vata in the body, which, for example, like burping or foggy mind, confused, and agitated like that, and frustrated. But if you have a warm meal, moist warm meal, that actually ground you, stay concentrated, focused, and much more relaxed. So that's the other thing. If someone is experiencing more anxiety in their mind, it's good to have a good warm, moist meal. Not necessarily a big meal, but small portion itself.
Small portions.
Yes.
Train ourselves.
That's
I think we overeat in the Western world, don't we?
That's right.
I mean, we're better than the States, but the States, everything's supersized, and get the larger meal and it's cheaper, more affordable, and
double whoppers.
Sorry?
We get double whoppers.
Oh yeah, exactly. And
one is not enough.
So we should eat, like, if we cup our hands, two hands, we should eat that much.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, again, like, depending on the body frame and the body needs, we can actually make the decision on how much we need. So, for example, someone who wants to lose body weight doesn't necessarily take as much as a person who wants to gain body weight. So, and also the sugar level, or their heart functioning, or their fluid retention, or other appetite. Someone doesn't have appetite, doesn't need to take food. You can skip meals also. So that's the other thing. Who can skip meal, or who can do fasting, or what time is the best for fasting. So, for example, someone feels really lethargy and feel no appetite, it is recommended either not to take any meal, or maybe some fluids, warm fluids, because that actually helpful to increase the appetite and increase the production, or the enzymes to get into the stomach and start to assimilate, and once the appetite comes back normal, then you can take bigger portion of the meal. So that's how it's gradually developing. Just like we introduce, adding a bit of oil into a small flame. So if it's only a drop of oil, it's helpful for making that flame bigger. Whereas if you pour a bucket of oil, that actually shut down.
That's it. Balance.
So it's actually always good to think. That's why Ayurveda says it has Agni, which is fire. Our digestive fire is what we need to be protected. Ayurveda says root of health is the first strength of the digestive fire. So if you have a strong fire, good absorption, good elimination, the good elimination is a good sign of good Agni, good fire. That is the root, or that is what we need to be protected, or what root cause of a healthy body. So if someone have a good appetite, that is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, but give the right amount of food, right taste, or right nutrients to make make sure that the person is going the right direction.
And that's right. And it's about eating sort of mindfully and being aware of our emotions, to not overeat. We're feeling relaxed, we've got a good fire in a good Agni, we want to keep eating, and then you eat, you overeat, and then you take yourself out of balance again, and then you've got to rest, recover. So just like you were saying, just eat the right amount, eat mindfully, eat with gratitude. I've seen a lot of that along these texts, eating with gratitude, and it's about the person that's cooking it and preparing the food. If they prepare, it's like we all like, most people like their mother's cooking, right? Because they're cooking with love. So it's the hands that make the food too, the energy that goes into the food.
And also, sleep after a meal is not recommended actually according to Ayurveda. Some people who does the night shifts, for example, they take a heavy meal for breakfast and then go to bed straight after. But that's not actually good for our healthy digestion. We mentioned that for night bedtime, we should be putting some time difference after our dinner. The same thing should be applied in the breakfast also, if a person going for sleep after.
We have come to the end of the program. I've got about 2 pages that I didn't ask you, so we might have to come back for part 3. Thank you so much. Let's have your contact details, so if people want to come see you, the name of it, the practice, and all that. We've got 40 seconds left, so if you can do that in 40 seconds.
You. So again, welcome everyone to Ayur Health Ayurvedic Clinic, and you can either email us, or you can come directly or phone us, or you look at our website or Facebook page. It's Ayur Health, AYUR Health. Ayur means life and health. So Ayur Health is our business name. Thank you very much, Bianca. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.